Okay, viewers, today we have Atishay Jain with us. Hi, Atishay.
Hi, Kirthik. Nice to have.
So today, thank you for joining our channel, Atishay, and taking your time out from your busy schedule. So today we have Atishay who has cracked CAT and has been selected for the incoming postgraduate program at IIM Kozhikode. So let's begin with the first question, Atishay. So, take us through your journey. Where have you grown up? Where have you done your undergraduation? And how did you finally decide to do your MBA from top B schools?
Okay. So I was I'm audible, right?
Yeah. You're audible. Go on.
Yeah. So I was born in Delhi and I have been brought up here in Gurgaon. I did my schooling from Ryan International School, Delhi itself. I have always been an average kid and used to be made fun of as a kid, because of my poor English skills that time. So
Mhm.
I took that to heart and then I started studying a lot and just took that to ego, and that's how I started my academic journey, and eventually topped in class 12th board exams and landed up in Sri Venkateswara College, Delhi University. Pursued my BCom honors there, and currently working in American Express, and would be joining IIM Kozhikode in this session, 2020 to 2022 batch. And
Mhm.
when exactly I decided to do my MBA, well, I did take CAT while I was in undergraduation, but then I wasn't quite sure if I wanted to do it. And like this question keeps on getting asked, why MBA? And I did not have a straight answer. I just don't know. But then 1 year into the work experience, I just kind of got a flavor of some sort of leadership and then some management. And then I figured, you know what, this is my cup of tea, and I want to get into a top B school, and that's when I started preparing for CAT.
That's great. That's great, Atishay. So, I read through your profile. So, you have mentioned that you have been working at American Express. So, how did you
Mhm.
manage to get into American Express, and what was your job description working there?
Well, when it comes to like getting into American Express, it was kind of a wacky process actually. Like the interviewers were quite friendly, and they just kind of seemed to give that vibe in which like they were very friendly, and they just saw that I was a good fit in that particular place. So I guess that was the reason. I hope that was the reason. And
Mhm.
then like my description. So I am responsible for driving process improvement insights. When it comes to customer journeys, when prospective customers apply to American Express credit cards, they have to go through a website journey, right? So I'm responsible for driving improvements in that particular process, both on the front end side and the back end side. And in addition to that, I'm also responsible for reporting certain data metrics to senior leadership.
And do you think that your work experience has helped you during your preparation?
Well, it has added a little bit of a flavor to my personality. I can say that definitely helped in the interviews. I don't know how relevant it would have been to in the actual CAT exam, because the questions are quite different. So yeah, that's how it helped me. It helped me crack the interviews.
So, Atishay, which all MBA institutes and what other B schools did you get call from?
Uh, so I got a call from IIM Lucknow, IIM Kozhikode, IIM Shillong, Management Development Institute Gurgaon, IIFT, and the new
Mhm.
IIMs. So in total, I think six. Yeah.
That's great, Atishay. So tell us something about your preparation for GD and the personal interview rounds. How did you go on preparing for that?
Well, I actually enrolled in the CL PDP personalized program, in which they kind of mentor you as to how to go about this particular process. There were some mock interviews, some mock GDs, of course, and some mock WATs also. And I just followed their directions. And broadly, what happens in GDPI. In fact, I'll talk about PI for a little time here. All the questions can be bucketed into four different buckets, right? One is the
Mhm.
HR questions, which are basically, tell us about yourself, strengths and weaknesses, why MBA, and all of that. Then the second is centered around your work experience. If you have work experience, of course, for freshers,
Mhm.
it's going to be different. Third is academics. What have you learned during your schooling and graduation, right? And the fourth is current affairs. And roughly all of the questions just come under these four buckets. So if you have these four buckets, and if you've worked on them separately and just kind of got that thing sorted, I think personal interview can be a breeze in that case if you're really prepared.
Mhm. Atishay, you were a working professionals while you were preparing for your CAT
Mhm.
examinations.
Yeah.
Could you share your strategy? Like, how did you strike a balance between your professional and study hours? Could you just give us some insight?
Well, it really centered around what kind of time I want to study in. It's different for
Mhm.
different people, right? So you need to manage your schedule around that. So I'm a morning person, so I used to get up early at around 7:30 and just start studying at around that time, and go on till like 9:30, 10. This was around in the initial times, right? So 1 to 2 hours would be my normal schedule. I'm
Mhm.
never the kind who used to go on for like 5 6 hours. It's just not me. So I just keep my sessions a little light, and that's how I managed it. I actually have a like a 11:30 to 9 sort of a shift, so I could manage
Mhm.
that. Of course, it's going to be different for a lot of folks. In that case, what you need to do is just find the time you can study in. If you are good at studying in the night, do that. If you want to study in the morning, do that. Of course, do whatever works for you, but just do it.
Mhm. So, did you give any mock interviews before the actual D-Day?
Yeah, and they have been insanely helpful. I can't emphasize this enough. Like preparation is one bit, right? You need to think about your answers. You need to, just work on your content, right? But in an actual interview, it might just come out differently.
Mhm.
You think in your head, how I'm going to say it, how this is how I'm going to present myself, and sometimes like you think that it's great in your head, but then when it comes off in the interview, you're like, okay, did I just say that, or it doesn't make sense. So you kind of need another feedback, like an outer feedback in that case. So that really helps, and I think if you have like even like 1 to 2 mock interviews, those are the most essential ones. So you have to have at least 1 or 2 interviews first to just kind of understand the flow of things, and then probably in the third or the fourth mock interview you'll realize how things go. And it's not you'll realize it's not that big a deal, and actually that is the point of mock interviews as well. You kind of get
Mhm.
comfortable with the groove. Yeah, and I would definitely recommend anyone who's aspiring to be in a top B school to go through that process. Even if, God forbid, you don't convert anything, or it doesn't go well, you learn a lot out of this process. You learn a lot about yourself, and you learn where you stand. It's an incredibly enriching experience.
So, moving on to the next question, Atishay. How was your interview experience in IIM Kozhikode? Is there anything that you want to share?
Well, okay, IIM Kozhikode was the most unique out of the interviews because right the first question that the interview asked me was if you were to meet someone in Japan, how would you introduce India? And I just sat on the chair, and then she asked it started asking me that question. And uh, of course, at that point I was just dumbstruck. And then the I of course managed to answer that question. But then the conversation went on from this to geopolitics to democracy, the constitution, secularism. And at that particular point of time, there was a lot of debate around CA, and so these contentious issues also came up. And there were debate there were discussions around reservation also. So it was quite unique. It was kind of an open-ended discussion. I didn't actually plan for that. I was hoping for more on the lines of work experience. But then it was an enriching discussion. So that's how it went. And I didn't encounter any such interview in out of the lot. So, and like, just a word of advice for anyone who wants to be in K. K emphasizes a lot on this geopolitics, current affairs, and these open-ended discussions. It's a very liberal kind of a thought process in that particular institute. So yeah, do watch out for that. Just a side note. Yeah, that's how my interview went.
So how was your interview experience at IIFT?
IIFT, well, they were actually taking a very short interviews. I remember mine was around 8 minutes only, and they just managed to ask me two or three questions around my work experience, something about my hobby as well, and something about my interest as well, psychology. I mentioned psychology as my interest. One or two questions, that's it. And yeah, the GD was good. And IFT has like a long process, right? GD, VAT, PI. So that went well.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So how much time do the IIMs usually allot to interview a candidate
Well,
on an average?
it depends on an average. Okay, so as you go, this is just like a normal trend. As you go higher up the hierarchy in top B schools, they tend to take
Mhm.
a little longer interviews, so that they can assess the candidates a little better. So I've seen like candidates from A, B, C probably saying that it's around 20 to 25 minutes, whereas at L, K, I, S, they go around from around 15 to 20 minutes. That's the usual range. IFT was kind of an outlier. Sometimes they do it 15 minutes. Sometimes they take just about 10 minutes. So it's,
Mhm.
you can say like a ballpark figure would be around 12 minutes to maximum of 25 minutes. It's very rare that it goes on to like 30 minutes also. But then it does happen, but very rare. So take that to be the figure, 12 to 25 minutes.
So how many interviewee viewers were present at your panel? Like how many what is the strength of the interview panel for which you attended?
Uh, so you're talking about like each interview panel, or like in collectively, the maximum number of
Uh,
people in a panel,
yeah,
right?
the maximum number. Yeah.
Yeah. So it was two. It was two for all the institutes I went for. But then in top B schools, it can be a little different. A, B, C. I'm talking about ABC, the Holy Trinity. I've
Mhm.
seen three or four panelists there as well. So yeah, that sometimes in my case it didn't happen. It was just two interviewers. But then yeah, in other B schools, in the top ones, ABC, it might be more.
So the most now coming to the most awaited question is what is the strategy to prepare for the CAT exams and the secret to performing well in the interviews? So what is your piece of advice?
Well, okay. My piece of advice would be to take it as lightly as possible, because See, I saw my peers, and I have a lot of like peers are preparing for the exam, right? They 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 usually used to be so tense, they want to give mocks, they want to just keep on doing stuff, they want to study for 6 hours straight, and I was like, why are you even doing this? Like, relax, relax. It's just an exam, right? My advice first would be to take it a little less seriously. Take it sincerely, of course. That's going to be the goal, but don't let it be the center point of your life. Okay, and paradoxically enough, if you don't take it to be the center of your life, you actually perform better. That's my first piece of advice. Secondly, when it comes to you know strategy and all, like I know the most fundamental ideas that are out there, which is take mocks, practice as many questions as possible, have a definite strategy for each section, right? VAR, so you have to have a strategy, LRDI, QA. Of course, when we dive deep into the strategies, it's going to take another like an hour discussion, because it's so vast. The subject in itself is so vast. So have that, and also like understand that it's a journey, right? It's not a sprint. And I've seen a lot of people, they start studying in February or January, where they start very early, and they are very excited about it, and come August, September, they are extremely saturated. So do watch out for that. Take that as a journey. The more you enjoy the process, the better it's going to be, and you're going to, study for longer as well. And also do whatever works for you. So in my case, I actually used to make videos, of myself explaining some concepts, because uh, sometimes like 2 days before the exam, you just want to revise, right? How about you just watch your own self explaining to yourself about that particular concept? It's just it's actually a fun thing to do, and you kind of immerse yourself in the process. Do whatever works. Take your own sweet, whatever works for you, right? I used to use a lot of colors also in my notes. I used to have these sticky notes and all of that. I used to have a whiteboard as well. So do whatever works for you. Just enjoy it. Just enjoy the whole learning process. I'm sure you'll be fine, and you don't worry. You don't have to worry about studying for 6 hours straight. It's not going to be the answer to your question. Just relax and just take it easy. Uh, when it comes to the interview, like I said, the questions can be roughly divided into four buckets. Uh, I'm not going to dive deep into that, but I'm going to give a piece of advice in interviews. First off, always be prepared. Okay. I've seen people who have cracked the CAT exam. They have got like 99.5 percentile, 100 percentile, and they just don't take the interview process seriously. And they sometimes say that, I just want to go ahead and, be a natural. That's the word they use, be a natural, whatever that means. Uh, but if you prepare, you actually have more chance of being natural there, because you're assured that you have material to go with. You're not caught off guard. So the first thing is that, and the second thing is be honest. Be absolutely honest about why you made a decision in the past of whatever you've done. If you haven't done something, don't say that you've done it. It really backfires. Don't invent a hobby just like that. I've seen people do that as well. Just be honest. Okay, just say I did this decision because it was the easiest decision to take, or it was the right decision to take at that particular point of time, so I did it. That's about it, and that's my advice for interview preparation.
Very well said, Atishay. So now, for those who haven't been able to make it through the exams and secure a place at the top B schools, so given the current pandemic and the current situation, the global scenario, what would you suggest for those people to do? Like, would you go for a, like, what is the scenario of MBA programs abroad? Like, is it worth doing it from abroad or giving it a shot next year? Like, take a one more shot.
Okay, well, when it comes to abroad education, especially for this time, I'm actually not quite optimistic. At least for the first, like the next year, the situation might change in 2 years, 2022. So if you plan to
Mhm.
have like a 2 year course, but I would still not be the best person to say about abroad education in this case. However, about in India, I think this is the best time to do an MBA, especially like the 2021 batch that goes out, right? So 2021 to 2023. That means taking the CAT exam right now. And what a lot of experts actually do say in these times is that if you're laid off, if you don't have a job, this is the best time to get an education. This is
Mhm.
the best time to utilize this time to level up, do courses, do whatever. And you won't be scrutinized because of it, right? If in a normal situation, you'll be like, why are you home? Why, what did you do? And you know, all of those questions. But in this case, you actually have a license to say, you know what, I was home, I was studying, and I pursued these courses, all of that. So it kind of tells you that it tells the other person that you take an initiative and all of that. That would be my advice. When it comes to like people not converting their calls, what we need to understand is that especially after this pandemic, the work life is going to change. In fact, it is changing and has changed also, to such an extent that work from home is going to be a part of our lives.
Mm.
If not totally, but partially. And as that goes on, like a person sitting here remotely can work for a company, let's say based out of US, right? So what happens is with the people from top B schools and not the people who are not able to convert those top B schools, the lines get a little blurry. Because you can say that I can do this, from this. You don't have to have like a credential of an IIM, right? Because you don't have to be physically present. So
Mm.
if you have the skill, if you have the knowledge, you can just go ahead. You know what? I can do this for you. So the lines actually are getting blurred. So it's not that you can't compete with them. In fact, you can be even better than them in certain areas. It's not a big deal. Of course, the perks of being in a B school are there, but then they are just getting minimized. The gap is getting reduced. So I would suggest not to lose heart and just go ahead with doing what you can.
So, Atishay, so what is your plan? Like 2 years from now, what are you going to do after getting an MBA degree?
Well, of course, getting a job would be the first thing on my mind, right? Um, as for the domain, I still have to research more on that, but uh, I'll probably like to go for a general management role, or an operations role, or an HR role, because I find that I quite fit in that particular dynamic. So that's what going to try to do. Yeah.
So, Atishay, now that we have come to the end of our questionnaires and viewer questions, it's mostly answered. So once again, we congratulate you for getting an admission at IIM Kozhikode,
Thank you.
and
Thank you.
thank you especially for spending your time, like, and sharing your piece of wisdom with our audience. I hope that your words would definitely truly be helpful for all our viewers. And at last, before we close, is there anything, Adishay, that you need to, like, a golden piece of advice? before we
Well,
wrap up this?
yeah, I'm just gonna say, just take it less seriously. Just relax and don't make it the center point of your life, because it's not. There are a lot of things you can do. So relax. That's about it.
Great, Atishay. Thank you for joining us, Atishay.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you for having me here, Kirtik. Thank you.